Over the past few decades, our great nation has been shifting into a deep hole of financial inequality, fueled by the greedy, filthy rich capitalists in the top 1%. Low-income, blue-collar workers are the primary victims of the massive income inequality crisis, and they are feeling the devastating effects of their poverty. The federal minimum wage is currently set at $7.25 an hour, which yields an annual income of only $15,000, forcing some low-income families to live off an inadequate wage. According to the Economic Policy Institute, this is considered well below the federal poverty line for families of two or more, which happens to make up a good portion of the low-income households. Single parents with this salary would be well below the poverty line and would struggle to sustain their family. The federal minimum wage would have to be increased to $10.10 per hour in order to bring a minimum wage income back above the poverty line for a family of three, which would relieve thousands of low-income families. Unfortunately, it is unlikely that the minimum wage will be raised this high anytime soon due to the unintended economic consequences and the conflicting agenda of today's government. Jose Castro is a 33-year-old man with a wife and two sons. He works a demanding housekeeping job for 40 hours a week and continues to struggle financially. His salary has remained at a dismal $7.25 an hour since he first began working at his company.
So, how is your current financial situation?
I spend all my time working a grueling housekeeping job, yet I continue to live check to check each week. I'm a minimum wage worker in Orlando who struggles to make ends meet, just like the thousands of other low-income employees in Orlando and across the United States. I'm afraid that I'm going to need to take multiple shifts in order to provide money for my family to have a normal life.
Why is that?
My goal is to pay for at least a portion of my first son's college education. I cannot live with myself if I let both of my children into the same low-income lifestyle that I live every day. I would have to work so much that they rarely see me, but it will be worth it for my family.
Is there anything that the government could do to help your current situation and prevent it from happening to others?
In today's world, the government seems to forget about the low-income families of America. If they raise the minimum wage, I might be able to provide for my family without having to work multiple shifts of a demanding, labor-intensive job. It seems like an easy fix, but the government is too busy focusing on the rich in order to do anything. Whenever the subject of raising the federal wage comes up, they make up excuses involving unforeseen economic repercussions, but I'm not sure how true that claims are.
Tyrone Collins Staggers lives with his disabled wife in a local homeless shelter. He tries to provide for himself and his wife by working construction, but transportation costs from his daily commute take a good portion of his paycheck.
What do you think needs to be done about your situation and the lives of many others?
I mean, it doesn't take rocket science to say that a family needs a living wage to make it. It doesn't take all those politics to do what's right. It just takes the mindset of the people who are sitting in DC to change.
Do you think the government is actively trying to help people in your situation?
I would like to think so, but I doubt that they're actually doing anything.
In your opinion, is there an easy fix to this crisis?
No solution here is easy, but I'm sure something can be done. I think that it's just a matter of government taking initiative instead of just sitting around arguing.
It is time for the government to give Tyrone Collins Staggers and Jose Castro the raise they deserve. One day, they will hopefully be lifted from poverty and live their lives knowing they will be able to support themselves and their families financially without the aid of charitable organizations. Student debt has created an environment where inequality is prevalent and reinforces class differences in America. College student loan debt is a major barrier that blocks young people from entering the workforce, and it's a barrier that cannot be overcome easily. Student loans are major restraints that hinder and bind individuals for a significant portion of their adult lives. Student debt changes social contract as it teaches how education is a consumer good rather than an exploration of the intellectual side of humanity. Over the years, student debt has exponentially risen from small amounts to devastating ones. In 1994, the average debt of a college student was $9,000, and the average was $19,200 in 2004. Only a decade passed and the debt more than doubled. Anyone can assume that the debt will rise even higher than before. Not only does student debt obstruct the youth from maintaining intellectual prowess, but it turns away from the democratic stimulant of America.
When did you get your graduate degree, and what were you mastering in?
Well, I got my graduate's degree in social work in late 2009, so it was around 8 years ago.
Did you pay for your college by yourself?
Yes, I had to pay for it myself because being the first member of my family to go to college, my family did not have the resources to finance my education.
How did you end up getting the money to finance your own education?
I had to get a student loan, which, when it is paid off, will cost me $75,000, not including the interest that will have accumulated over this 11-year period. I had to put things off like buying a house and having a family because I simply don't have the resources required to finance those things while I'm paying off my debt. I did my best to keep costs low by serving as a resident advisor, applying for scholarships, and holding work-study positions. But the loan, being as expensive as it was, meant that I could only pay it off in around 11 years. I still have another 2.5 years to go before I'll finally have it paid off, or so I thought.
What do you mean, or so you thought?
Well, not too long ago, news that the public service loan forgiveness may have ended has caused me to panic about whether or not I will be financially stable enough to survive in our current economy, especially now that my loans have accumulated to include a significant amount of interest over the past 8 years. I see it as unethical and inequitable to take away a program that people have been planning their lives around, just as I have done.
Wow, I never knew how much student loans have changed and how much more difficult it is for someone who has to pay for their own college than it used to be. Thanks for sharing your own story of the risk that you went through by choosing to be the first to graduate from college in your family and having to finance your own education. Well, that's all the time we have for today, and it was a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you for letting me take this interview and sharing my own personal experience with student loans and the debt that has shaped my life over the past 8 years.
As you have seen so far, student debt and low wages are severely limiting the income of many low-income families. So what are these people doing with their small amount of money? For thousands, the answer is lottery tickets. The lottery seems like an easy way to go from rags to riches, but despite the great appeal, many Americans are being duped into wasting their money.
How often do you buy scratch tickets?
Every day. I occasionally resist, but I often end up buying some at night anyways.
What do you think causes you to do this?
There's always a chance that I could win. I hear all these stories about people winning the lottery, and I imagine that I will be one of those people. The ads make it seem like I will become a winner if I just keep at it.
Have you ever won anything?
Once, I was really close to winning. The number was 37 and I had 36. Oh, and one time I won $17. Who knows, maybe I'll win big next time, and eventually I'll get the jackpot.
Do you think that you have a lottery problem?
Admittedly, I probably do. I spent thousands of dollars I don't have on this, but I can't stop. I've spent so much money already, the only way I can get it out of this is if I win big.
Throughout the history of the nation, the American dream has exuded a sense of pride and freedom among hopeful Americans. America is often viewed as a land of freedom, where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, and the people are free to live how they wish with a little bit of hard work and dedication. Meanwhile, critics of the dream have argued that many issues plaguing the country, including fewer job opportunities and the ever-increasing chasm between the upper and lower classes, have hindered the accessibility of this ambitious endeavor. Although some optimists believe that the American dream has remained intact over the course of the past few centuries, the recent spikes in income inequality, inadequate minimum wages, student debt, and false lottery ticket marketing indicate a harsh reality that the dream is less attainable than once expected.